Hello, I'm Sue Morse. My maiden name was Williamson, and I'm the great-granddaughter of Harriet and William Williamson, who came to Braidwood area in the 1870s. My grandfather was a hoisting engineer, and he was hired by the CW and V mining company to run their hoist. My grandmother followed him after he came here. She was pregnant at the time, and at that time they didn't allow anybody with an illness or a pregnancy. So she came a few months later after her second son was born. Her first son was my great-grandfather. They settled in Braidwood, and several years later they rebuilt his hoisting room that allowed the men and mules to come down a large elevator type mechanism. And when the new room was put in use, the first men and mules who came down, the hoisting room ceiling fell. It wasn't secured, and he was mortally wounded. He stayed with his hoisting apparatus and got the men and mules back up to the surface. So the only person who was injured was my great-grandfather, and he passed away several hours later. Now, before my great-grandmother left England, her father, who had a recipe for a candy called Bullseye, gave her the recipe, the bucket, the scissors, the batch fit scissors, a scoop, and the cutter for the candy, and this is the peppermint that they always used in the making of the candy. They had those mitts that they used to pick the bucket of boiling hot candy off of the stove. Now, she went to selling that candy because in the meantime they had 4 more children, and so she was left a widow with 6 children. The candy was popular with the people around the mine and in Braidwood, and as people moved out, they liked the candy and they asked for it, and in time it was sent to all kinds of places by railroad. My mother was the last to make it. She wasn't a Williamson by birth, but her name was Harriet Bowles, and she made she became Harriet Williamson, and all of the Harriets in the family, anyway, they accepted her and my dad. They were the last to make it at the Harry Williamson Candy Company in Manuka. It was made in Braidwood. They moved to Coal City, and then finally they moved to Manuka. When my father was killed in the Elwood Ordnance Plant explosion, the factory was shut down. My mother had to go to work. They sold the gas station that he owned, and the government came in and sealed the candy shop, and she couldn't give away the sugar. She made candy at home several times, but she really never did share the recipe with anybody. And so the recipes that you see all around were, because it was such a simple candy, the women that she hired were all widows as well to make candy. And they had quite a going concern in Coal City. And this peppermint is the bottle that my mother was using when my father was killed. I'm the recipient of this beautiful peppermint, and I use it when I need peppermint. I don't make G-Shaft anymore. It's a difficult thing, and the recipes that call for white sugar and lots of corn syrup and water are kind of a corruption that those people made. They all knew the recipe, but in order to save some semblance of her own recipe. This peppermint, the bottle had the label taken off. It was from the E.M. Todd Company in a town in Michigan. It no longer is there, but you know, it's got the little cork, and it's a very antique bottle, and I treasure it. I only share it with very special people.